Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going, and as I like to remind you each and every day, it expands our base. Yesterday was a big day, and I want to talk about two things. First, I want to talk about the Middle East, where it appeared as this podcast was being prepared yesterday that there would be a ceasefire, a release of at least 33 hostages and bodies, and an exchange with Palestinian prisoners held in Israel. This morning, there seems to be a glitch, but no surprise. Nothing goes smoothly in the Middle East. I'm often reminded of the story of the scorpion and the frog. It was by the Jordan River, beautiful day, and the scorpion turned to the frog and said, "Look, I'd like to get to the other side." And the frog said, "I understand that, but do you think I'm crazy? If I put you on my back and I take you across, you'll sting me, and we'll both die." And the scorpion looked at the frog and said, "Are you nuts? Do you think I would kill myself?" And the frog thought about it. It was very logical, and he said, "Okay, all right, hop on." And they begin to cross the Jordan River. Halfway across, the scorpion stings the frog. "What did you do?" said the scorpion and the frog at simultaneous moments. The frog said, "You've stung me. We'll both drown." And the scorpion responded, "It's true. But, my dear friend," he said, "that's the Middle East." And that's the story of the scorpion and the frog. And that, of course, is the story of the Middle East. There is hope that perhaps the deal that has been cut will bring some sort of exchange, some sort of resolution, some sort of ceasefire that exists. I was asked whether I thought the ceasefire would last. I said, of course not. Ceasefires don't last in the Middle East. I was asked about the hostage exchange. 33, but it still leaves a lot of hostages still being held. Does it mean that we are on the verge of peace in the Middle East? The answer is most assuredly no. The commitment of Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, and Iran, and the Houthis, among other Islamic extremists, to the destruction of Israel is clear. But what we are talking about is a temporary ceasefire, some breathing room that will help the Israelis and will help the Palestinians and hopefully will help the world to take a deep breath and think about what's happening. What was really important about this moment in time was the fact that the Biden outgoing administration and Trump incoming administration worked together to try to cut the deal. I was asked in a talk yesterday, who was responsible, Biden or Trump? Doesn't matter. I think it is frankly a combination of factors. I think Biden's assiduous work on this, Trump's threats, all of this works together to try to find some resolution to this hostage crisis. But now I want to assure you that even if hostages are released, think of all of those who have been killed. Think of what happened in southern Israel on October 7th, and you understand that the trauma to the Israelis is real. Hamas did not storm into southern Israel to make peace. They stormed into southern Israel to make war, and they did. And so we have to stop and think now about what the implications are. We will know in just a few hours, perhaps a few days, perhaps by Sunday, whether or not this deal works. I pray it does. Not because it will resolve the conflict, but because it will begin a process, I hope, of restoring families to families. Let's be clear. The story of the scorpion and the frog is illustrative of the problem in the Middle East. But the real problem in the Middle East is acceptance of Israel's right to exist as a nation. I've said that before, and I will say it again. Now, while all of this was going on, President Biden delivered his farewell address to the American people. We all remember reading George Washington's wise words in his farewell address, written by Alexander Hamilton, in fact, or Dwight D. Eisenhower's famous words about the military-industrial complex uttered on January 17th, 1961, just days before he left office. We understand that what Joe Biden did yesterday was to warn against a different kind of threat. The oligarchy, as he referred to it, extremely wealthy individuals who think they can write their own ticket. Let me be clear, on the inaugural platform in just a few days will sit Jeff Bezos, will sit all of those who have contributed so greatly to Donald Trump, Elon Musk, most assuredly, and it turns out others who have given millions of dollars to Trump, including Zuckerberg. I point this out, and I mention these three names in particular because, well, that's what Joe Biden is warning against. The idea that people with vast wealth will be able to influence, perhaps even control American policy. This is something that needs to be addressed. Now, Biden, in the context of his farewell address, also suggested that there be a constitutional amendment that no president is above the law. We don't need a constitutional amendment. We need a Supreme Court that understands the law. That's the problem. By the way, no constitutional amendment saying that would pass, in my judgment. The conservative Republicans would vote against it without any question. And so we are left with a feeling that the news continues to spin, in a sense, out of control. One of the things that we will do next week is analyze Donald Trump's second inaugural address. Remember, he spoke in his first address of American Carnage? We will speak about what kind of tone he sets in his inaugural address. We'll contrast it with what Joe Biden suggested was a vision, and we will proceed, I hope, to begin to analyze what happens in the Trump administration. One other quick note, I listened to the confirmation hearings, and I'm not reassured by them. It seems to me that the people that Donald Trump has suggested for various positions are there because of their loyalty to Trump, not to the Constitution. I hope I'm wrong. We'll see in the days ahead. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand. And as I've often said, that is our goal. You can interact with me on LinkedIn. You can interact with me on Facebook. You can interact with me by emailing me. But the most important thing we can do right now is thank Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of Around the Political World with John Rothman. She makes sure we're up and running every single day. I am John Rothman, and I will be back tomorrow.